You are about to watch the 3 most wrecked Honda motorcycles ever restored. And trust me, when I say wrecked, I mean completely falling apart. At number 1, we've got the legendary 1994 Honda Pan European ST1100. Once a sleek, reliable sports tourer, it is now lame, abandoned, and left to rot in a workshop owned by Meanwhile in the Garage. Yeah, that's actually the name of the restoration crew. Next up is a 2007 Honda CBR 600RR. It looks great on the outside, but it's hiding some serious mechanical problems that the auto builders at RK Motorsports will try to fix. And last but not least is this rusty 1980 Honda CB750, whose chance at a second life rests solely on this beautiful and multi-talented lady from Oceanfist. At first glance, you can tell this thing hasn't seen any action in a while. In fact, it's got so many missing parts I couldn't even count them all before the restorer forcefully dragged the bike into his workshop. We are still a long way out, but considering all the stuff he has to fix, that tedious ride to the workshop might just be the easiest part of the restoration. Now that the bike is finally in the heart of the workshop, it's time to tear it down. Of course, it went exactly how you'd expect. The engine gave a weak cough and went back to sleep. Next, the restorer had one look at the front end of the bike and decided it needed some slight adjustments. But this wasn't just going to be any custom job. It was a full-on facelift that involved careful measuring, cutting, realignment, and welding. Here's the restorer ordering and picking up a new set of compounds to be installed on the bike. But before then, he decided to pay a special visit to the handlebars. So far, the restorer seems pretty satisfied with the work he's done. But just when he thought he had escaped the most difficult phase, he got a big scare. While trying to swap out the old tires for the fresh ones, The bike fell forward and the restorer looked understandably frustrated. Yep, gravity pulled a fast one there, and as expected, the restorer looked broken. But he didn't fold. He had put in a lot of effort into this restoration so far, and not even a couple of broken parts would deter him from seeing it through. So he tapped out for a second, and by the time he returned, he was ready to go again. Thankfully, the rock-solid frame absorbed most of the impact, saving the delicate parts on the bike. Once that was done, the restorer went fabric shopping, and for a second I thought he was trying to match jackets with the seat. Well, that was until I realized those jackets were actually meant to be used as upcycled leather covers. Next, he grabbed a fender off some old, dusty donor bike, and you can already tell what he wants to do with it. Watching that was oddly satisfying. This builder is seriously skilled. But there was still a lot of work to be done. Next up, he ordered another dashboard and modified it into a custom-designed masterpiece. With the dashboard now in place, he fixed the broken links in the wiring harness and tested the front and rear indicator lights. And then it was time to install the metal fairings. Now the bike was beginning to come together, but it was still missing a few things like the front fender and a paint job. The restorer had quite a few options for the latter, but after testing them out, he settled for this one. Then he continued with more restorative works, specifically on the left side of the bike. Now it was time to detach all of the components in anticipation of the painting phase. Alright, after all that hard work to disassemble components, it's time to put some paint on this beast. Now it's time to put everything back together, one piece after another. During the process, the restorer discovered that one of the speedometers was faulty. So he ditched it and ordered a brand new digital speedometer to replace it. Here's the bike looking all mean and majestic, but not quite complete. It's missing a few components like the seat and fairings. But halfway into reinstalling them, the bike tripped over again. Thankfully, there was absolutely no damage done to the bike, not even a single scratch. It's a miracle, but let's hope that's the last tumble. Moving on, the restorer went on a rampage of installations. Once those aesthetical additions were in place, the restorer moved over to the front end of the bike to adjust a few things. Somehow, that resulted in a broken side mirror. Yet another mishap in this restoration. This wasn't as scary as those nasty falls from earlier, but it was bad enough to delay the completion of the restoration by a week. On the bright side, the delay gave him time to buff out some paint details and chill while waiting for the new mirror and a few other pieces to show up. And then it was time for the final round of installations and repairs. At last, the moment of truth. After endless hours, 2 near heart attacks, and 1 last-minute mirror swap, this bike is finally ready to hit the streets. But here's the million-dollar question. Will it run? There's only one way to find out. The difference is night and day. What was once a rust bucket on life support is now a sleek, road-ready legend, and it's all thanks to the gurus at Meanwhile in the Garage. This is a 2007 Honda CBR 600RR. It looks like it's ready to challenge Batman's Batpod. It's got that stern, no-nonsense stare and a custom paint job so clean, it makes other bikes jealous. But don't let the paint fool you. It's got some serious issues under the surface, enough to get the craftsmen at RK Motorsports interested in restoring it. As I mentioned earlier, the damages on this thing are quite serious and pronounced. With the major flaws now exposed like a bad report card, it was time to get down to the real business of the day, starting with a full-scale teardown. Whoops! The restorer just found out that the frame is bent and the battery tray is broken. Who knows what else he will find? Now that the bike's been stripped down to its skeleton, it's officially go time for the restoration. Next, the restorer yanked off these tacky stickers from the swing arm. From that point on, it was a whirlwind of fixing broken bits, hunting down replacement parts, and putting components back where they belonged. Next, he grabbed his power screwdriver and began dismantling the front tire and fork. At this point, I'm thinking about what he is doing because I know well enough that he just installed them a few moments ago. But then, after watching him do his thing for a few more seconds, I realized he was trying to get to the radiator. As you can see, this thing has suffered quite a great deal. Everywhere you look at, there is evidence of dents, and worst of all, the fan has a clearance issue. Fixing all that would have been a nightmare, so he ordered a brand new radiator. And just look at that fan spin now, it's smooth and completely quiet. Next up, he took off the levers, handlebars, and a few other bits from the front end, like he was on a mission. Every part that could be restored got the full spa treatment. But for the hopeless cases, he simply tossed them out and slapped in fresh replacements. Then he reinforced the fairings with foil before moving onto the seat. With everything bolted on and polished to perfection, the bike was finally ready for the big moment. But will it roar to life? Well, it didn't just roar. It roared back to life like it had just shaken off years of dust. And more importantly, it handled like a dream. Gliding smoothly on the track, you'd never believe it was once on life support. Thanks to the great minds at RK Motorsports who gave her a second life. Next up is the Honda CB750 from all the way back in 1980. It's an automobile icon that has been abandoned for several years and is not riddled with so many technical and non-technical problems, including faded painting, rusted parts, and a serious oil leak. This bike has clearly been sitting untouched for ages. It's in rough shape. But luckily for us, this brilliant restorer from OceanFist is willing to take on the challenge. First, she rolled it into the workshop and mounted it on a lift, using every ounce of energy she could gather. With the heavy lifting done, she decided to do one final inspection. And that's when more secrets started to unfold. The engine oil isn't as bad as expected, but other red flags like the missing battery and leaky carburetor suggest this project wouldn't be a stroll in the park, but the restorer was up for the challenge. After tearing it down and inspecting every inch, the restorer uncovered a surprise. Each of the 4 carburetors had been swapped in from a different bike. Apparently, the last mechanic couldn't find proper parts, so he improvised. And now, this restorer might have to do the same. With every piece cleaned, repaired, and ready to go, it was time to bring the puzzle back together. One piece at a time. She's up to a good start, but the work is far from done because there were a lot more components waiting to be disassembled. Now that the components have been fully disassembled, it's time to move on to the next phase. First stop was the engine. She cracked it open. And yeah, the damage was as bad as expected. Once all the issues have been identified, it is a time to get them fixed. Then came the fun part. Next up was the seat, which honestly looked more like something pulled from a scrapyard. The bracket was eaten away by rust and the sheet metal was completely destroyed. But before tackling that mess, she turned her attention to other parts that needed care. The components are now looking crisp, clean, and factory fresh. But the restoration was not done just yet. Actually, it's time to put some serious flair on the build, with a show-stopping paint job. Now that the paint job is locked in and looking sharp, it's time to circle back to the seat. Yeah, the one that was barely hanging on. From the frame to the tires, lights, and wiring, everything on this bike has been restored to standard. All that was left now was to put them all together and see if this beast would run. After 6 relentless months of sweat, grit, and laser-focused effort, this former wreck is now fully alive again, ready for the road. Shout out to the beautiful lady mechanic and everyone from Oceanfist who made it happen. Which of these restorations impressed you the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to check out other jaw-dropping transformations on the channel.